All right, welcome to APS Radio, episode number 29. My name is Jim Burneka. My special guest today is Nick Magoteaux from Brothers Helping Brothers. How you doing today, Nick?
I'm good. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. So I'm glad you're here. Before we jump into things with you, I did want to take a moment just to say that the Nantucket Fire Department, those guys are in my thoughts. They lost a member yesterday. They are not prepared for this stuff. I mean, they are literally on an island, and just thoughts and prayers, and hope it works out for those guys. Much love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but Brothers Helping Brothers.
Mhm.
Why don't you kind of give me that whole background of how this came to be?
Yeah, sure. So in 2014, I was working for a small fire department in Ohio, Phillipsburg, Ohio. Worked with a friend of mine named Art Springer, and he got sick, ended up going into the hospital, which, Art wasn't a unhealthy guy. He was, in his 40s, pretty, pretty in shape. Um, but he ended up going into the hospital, and we were obviously worried about him and things like that. And so we started out to, against his will, really doing a fundraiser to, help him with his medical bills and things like that. And unfortunately, he ended up passing away. But through some of the efforts that we were doing, we had like a fish fry and a gun raffle and t-shirt sales. And with the t-shirts, we, the logo that we came up with was Brothers Helping Brothers. That was on the front of the shirt, and then on the back was, talked about the Art Springer, um, fundraiser and things like that. And so when Art passed away, we kind of pivoted and ended up raising, continue our effort to raise funds, but ended up raising money for his daughter, because he left behind a 13-year-old daughter at the time. And through those efforts, we were able to raise over $20,000, which we made for a college fund for her. So afterwards, we were all kind of, basking in a job well done, a lot of work, but we did pretty good. We were like, okay, this is cool. And we people kept saying, Brothers Helping Brothers, that's such a cool thing, like we should do something with it. So we got together, started thinking, and I was at FDIC at the time, and I thought, well, it'd be interesting to do like a nonprofit. Because so Art, we were a small department that had very little money, and sometimes Art would buy stuff for the department. Like he bought a bunch of dump tanks off of gov deals and rehabbed them, refurbed them, and we were able to use them at the fire department. So kind of got me to think, it's like, well, Art was passionate about the department and everything like that. So how can we, make that something else? So we decided to, make this nonprofit that would help small and rural fire departments. So that's really the genesis of it. And, so what we do now is we give out grants to small and rural fire departments. Like I said, we started in 2014, and we've given out 16 grants since then, to departments all across the United States. All of them usually with a budget of under $100,000. So it's departments that truly need resources that might not have, or they're out there raising funds with their fish fries or chicken dinners and things like that to buy tools and equipment. And we're kind of helping alleviate that a little bit so they could put that towards something else.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's definitely a different world than kind of what I'm used to, when you basically your entire department's budget is really just like one member of a career department.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's insane. I mean, some of these departments that I've been to, uh, it's amazing that they're getting by. Like they have a $25,000 budget. It's like, well, that's just enough to put fuel in the trucks. There's not a whole lot that goes into that. So we had a limited budget at Phillipsburg. We were part-time. We made minimum wage, which is crazy to think that, there's firefighters out there that are working for minimum wage. And um, at that was the entire budget really. We couldn't afford to buy new things unless it was on a grant or, so it was a hand-me-down or something. So, I know firsthand how it is to have, outdated equipment that needs replaced.
It's some cowboy stuff out there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Man, so the other part of Brothers and really how you and I got connected was through the educational piece. Would
Yeah,
you mind touching on that?
so one of the efforts that we decided to do was we started to do kind of classes and conferences locally. It was kind of a three-prong approach. We were able to hopefully raise some funds for the nonprofit, give us a little bit more visibility about our organization, and then obviously it's all within the mission of trying to help firefighters, right, of providing top-notch education. So we've always tried to bring in nationally known speakers, things like that, to our neck of the woods in Ohio, and make it affordable so that even if you have to pay on your own dime, it's not going to kill the pocketbook like some of the larger conferences do sometimes. So but yeah, that's how we met. Obviously we started to do the Firefighter Health and Wellness Conference, which has been really the most successful conference that we put on an annual basis. And because that was kind of a thing that I saw there was a need, and that there really wasn't much being covered, especially at the time. Mental health wasn't being covered. It was more cancer, right? And so my plan was we'll put on a conference that talks about cancer and mental health, and they'll come to hear the cancer message, and we'll shove the mental health message down their throat.
And this is, I mean, just for perspective, I mean, this is 6 years ago,
Yeah.
that we were having this conversation. There was the firehouses and the fire engineerings, FDICs, the larger conferences, but there was not a lot of these more kind of localized conferences. And it seems like there's a bunch, I mean, all the time, everywhere now. Like
Yeah.
it is, the landscape has changed, but you actually seem like you're out in front of it some.
Yeah, I mean, really what the kind of came up was it was kind of a search for knowledge for myself. I got promoted to lieutenant at the department, and they kind of gave me my red helmet and said, okay, you sit in this seat now and good luck to you. And that was it, right? So it's like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do at all. So I kind of started to go out there, try to take as many classes and things like that. And I went to a conference down in Florida, and I'm like, this is not that hard. Like, there's 125 people here, and I just stumbled upon this. So my harebrained idea was I could do this. I could go back home and do this. And
You just needed to find another sucker.
well, it's been I will say, with the the conferences and classes and stuff, you have some good ones and you have some bad ones, but you learn every time you do one. So because
Yeah,
speaking of the health and wellness one, I mean, you remember the first one was $5,
$5. Yep.
$5 for 2 days of classes, lunches included. It was definitely wasn't there to make any money, but we made it pretty successful.
It worked out. It worked out well for a first venture.
Absolutely.
I would agree. But yeah, it's funny to think like, we were basically charging $5. We wanted some skin in the game, but not too much.
Yeah. Well, that was the thought process, right? Because I had put on, I think I had put on a class for free after that point, before that, and it just, people sign up and then they don't show up. And when you're trying to plan for an event,
They don't feel committed. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, well, if I charge them $5, then at least they have, they want to get their $5 worth.
Now, I think I like our attitude nowadays where we put on such a good show that they don't want to miss it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing, obviously we still keep it affordable, with this year's prices being $75 for 3 days. It's pretty affordable to come, even if you have to pay for yourself to go.
Yeah, no, and I love that idea because I see more and more of these conferences that pop up, and you could tell they're really dependent on the department paying for the individual.
Right.
And some larger departments, they have a training budget. They can do that. But I've always admired just the fact that you don't want to go there. You want to be able to have where, again, if you were like a Phillipsburg firefighter, if you wanted to go to our conference, you can make this happen. Like this
Absolutely.
is realistic. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think that's, part of the mission too, right? Is, you want to be able to provide that education for an affordable rate so that, the volunteers, anybody can come. We try to take away any barrier from people to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you've done now 5 of these conferences.
Hmm.
Um, the original one was in Middletown,
Yep.
Ohio, which is kind of Middletown between Dayton and Cincinnati.
Right.
And the last 4 have been in exotic Beaver Creek, Ohio. Um, why don't you touch on that real quick? How did that come to be this where this conference is in Beaver Creek, but we start kind of really in a way kind of making fun of ourselves, because
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
touch on that.
obviously you remember, when we first started this, the second year we were very, we want to be professional, right? We're wearing suits. We're going to be those guys, we're going to keep this professional. And as, I think, I don't know, if you're watching the video version of this, you can kind of tell we're both that kind of suit kind of guys.
Not
But
even wearing pants.
exactly. So, we ended up going towards, trying to be different and have fun, right? We did 2019. That was the year we did the suits and everything like that. Then the 2020 happened, and obviously that was a curveball for everybody with COVID, and we were able to pull off a conference, with a limited capacity and things like that, masks and what have you. And then really 2021 is when we kind of like really leaned in on, like, let's just have fun, right? You see all these conferences and, St. Pete Beach and Fort Lauderdale and, Virginia Beach. And, we're stuck here in the Midland. So it's, we'll make it our own exotic Beaver Creek, right?
And we'll do it at the end of October too.
Exactly. Right in fall, almost beginning of winter.
Yes. Yeah.
Right where you want to be.
So you're right. Most conferences like are in some exotic place, whether it's Florida, Vegas, California, and we are clearly nowhere like that. So that's kind of the inside joke is, we got people coming, to Beaver Creek, Ohio in October. It's just ridiculous, but we make it work.
Oh yeah. Well, and the fun part is, we have obviously people that come every year, that, and we have people that travel from, great distances to come. We've had people from California, um, Massachusetts, and everywhere kind of in between. So it's been interesting to, that we've been able to make, a small suburb of Dayton, Ohio, a destination to come and learn about, uh, you know, emerging trends in health and wellness for firefighters.
Oh yeah. So before we go into what we have cooked up for this year, let's kind of go back in the last 5 years.
Mhm.
Just off the top of your head, what are some of your favorite speakers that you've actually seen at this event?
Well, the second year we did it, 2019, we had uh, Billy Goldfitter as the keynote speaker, which, he's local to us, but not local to everybody, and just definitely a dynamic speaker. We had Chief Griffin from um, Charleston Fire Department and doing his presentation about the Charleston Nine, which was it was very impactful. Um, that definitely, I think opened up a lot of people's eyes and minds to some things, that they weren't necessarily privy to before. Um, obviously having the good doctor, Sarah Janke, she's always a delight to have. We've had her, what, 3 times now,
Three
right?
times, yes. And
And
I really just bring her in to mess with her more than anything.
well, I'll never forget 2019 with her.
Well, what happened in 2019?
Well, Sarah came, it was her birthday. She came and even spoke on her birthday for us.
Yes.
So we got her a nice cake, and, we brought it in singing happy birthday to her, and it said, happy 50th birthday, which she didn't realize until way far into, looking at the cake after the song.
Yeah, no, she actually, I remember she kind of thought that I forgot her birthday. And so then we wheeled out that cake, and she realized that I did not forget, that I was just waiting for the opportune time and wanted everybody to sing to her. And so we brought her, she was down, we brought her back up until she saw the cake. And Sarah is not quite 50. So
Right.
she was brought her back down. Good times. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I really liked, and obviously 2021 we did the PFAS,
Mm.
a day of completely everything PFAS. So having, Rob Ballot, he's local to us, but big time player in this stuff,
Oh,
movie star to boot, and
oh yeah.
and just, some of the people that we had, I felt like really we did, there was really a great way to kind of build the blocks to understand what PFAS is, and why it's an issue, in the fire service. I think, that was a good demonstration. And then obviously last year, I mean, we just, I think we did so many great speakers. Obviously, Mike Dugan, being able to share, um, somebody who's, obviously a legend in our industry, being able to share, being vulnerable in front of a crowd, is just, awe-inspiring. And, Chris Fields, I thought, was excellent. I mean, his presentation from about the Oklahoma City bombing and what that did to him and his family. I mean, just phenomenal stuff.
You know what I think when I think about those guys, I think they just give hope. Like, these are guys that went through some stuff and came out on the other side. And
Yeah.
for the people that's in the audience, it just gives them hope, like that they just need to hold on, they can weather the storm, they can get through it. We're not there to tell sad stories, we're there to tell stories where, they conquer whatever it is at the end.
Right. Well, it's
So
like, this is what worked for me. It might work for you. Everybody's different, but at least, we're able to provide that resource, that pathway from something, extremely traumatic happening to being able to overcome that and process it and move on with your life. I think that's definitely um, a big thing, for people that are struggling, right? I mean, there's, like you said, it provides hope for them.
yeah, absolutely. So, another part of this conference I think is unique is and you kind of alluded to it, but I want you to kind of touch more or go in more detail about it. And that's just the having fun aspect.
Yeah.
2021, we kind of did the Hawaii kind of theme. It was really just an excuse for you and me to wear shorts,
Hawaiian shirts.
shorts and a Hawaiian shirt. Last year was Vegas themed.
Yeah.
And then this year, what touch on this year?
So this year we're doing a Hollywood theme. So
That's
we're
right.
gonna have the red carpet, the Walk of Fame, big Oscar statues, the works.
Put some paparazzi.
Yes.
Yes, Walk of Fame, yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. So Hollywood themed, and we kind of are doing that because we're going to actually show 2 movies this year. But let's get to that in a second. So
Yeah.
each year we do this conference, and in each year we kind of say to each other, there's no way we're going to be able to top this conference that we just did.
Right.
And then
Yes.
somehow it all comes together.
Right. Yep.
And I'm really, really happy with what we have down on paper, who's coming October 25th, 26th, and 27th this year.
Yep.
How about diving into some of these speakers and these topics?
Yeah.
Just kind of like a no shame kind of preview. Shameless plug.
Right. So this year we got our keynote speakers this year are Brian Frieders, the president of the Firefighter Cancer Support Network, and Brendan McDonough from the Granite Mountain Hotshots. So it's kind of 2 different, obviously, topics when you talk about keynotes. So Brian is going to be presenting on the Wednesday, and then Brendan will be doing his thing on Thursday. So talking about leading through the department with having firefighters with cancer, things like that, I'm sure is what Brian's going to touch on. And then obviously Brendan's going to touch on what happened after the
Back up though.
Yeah.
Let's just do we'll do Wednesday, then we'll go to Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
How's that? Because it kind of, you gotta trust me, listeners and viewers, it'll line up.
Right. So yeah, you have Brian starting the day off on Wednesday, and then the next speaker we have would be Ben Vernon from San Diego Fire Department in California, and he's going to really talk about an incident that he had where he was stabbed on duty, and just how he overcame that, everything that came from that attack and everything like that.
And that speaks to the hope thing that I talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
Fighting for his life, all sorts of issues afterwards, mentally, physically, and came out on the other side and is sincerely one of the funniest people I have ever met.
Right.
I love the guy. I'm so looking forward for him being here.
Yes. Yeah, he's going to be a great. And then the next speaker we have is Matt Winning. So Matt is kind of an interesting pick. So he's a 3-time world champion powerlifter. A lot of different accolades when it comes to that, but he's also a strength and conditioning coach for several fire departments, actually in our area in Ohio, in central Ohio, actually. And he's going to talk a lot about injury prevention, things like that, on how you can keep yourself safe. Some of the stuff that I was reading on him is, he obviously is large power lifter, but he's never had like any major surgeries as far as like knee replacements, or hasn't had any issues with that. And I think that's kind of a testament to his program, and that's kind of what he brings to the fire departments. So should be really interesting in hearing what he has to say, and the data and everything that he has, with the departments that he works with now. So the next speaker we have is Jeff Orange and Heath Good. So Jeff is the peer support coordinator for Orlando Fire, and Heath Good is Norwich Township Ohio, peer support person, and they're going to be talking about moral injury and compassion fatigue, which is really, two of the bigger, well, more of emerging topics, especially moral injury. It seems like a lot of people are starting to talk about a moral injury, kind of talking about what is it, how can you identify it, right? And kind of
Yeah.
going through what's involved in that. And obviously, I think anybody who's done this job, for an extended period of time on a full-time basis has probably experienced compassion fatigue, and how do we, uh, work towards bringing back that compassion element, especially,
Yes.
as if you're doing EMS as a firefighter as well, there's a lot of that, you need that on an everyday basis with the people that you deal with.
Yeah. Moral injury, the first time I ever heard that was from Jeff Orange. When I was kind of discussing with him just the aftermath of our mass shooting
Hmm.
in Dayton. And he was the one that threw that definition out at me. So I love that he's coming here to kind of expand on that. It's a very um, full circle kind of thing, actually. Pretty
Oh yeah.
cool.
Well, like, it's such an important topic. I think a lot of people
And
don't understand it and recognize it, and until really now. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it, but
yeah, and Jeff and Heath have formed a really good friendship over the years because Heath has been sent all over the place, all sorts of disasters, and a lot of them, unfortunately, Jeff is at too, whether it was Pulse or Surfside as well. So
right.
they've had to work together, and to have them here working together as well on this topic, or those two things, it's going to be pretty cool to see.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's definitely going to be something that a lot of people could be able to take back. I feel like, to their departments and implement, or be able to share and know that there's a pathway forward, right?
Yes.
So then the next speaker we have is Captain John Gulata from Tucson, Arizona. He'll be talking about his kind of partnership with University of Arizona and all the cancer research that they're doing out that way. And the nice part is, obviously, he's a firefighter. So, sometimes with the scientists, as you know, and the researchers, it's sometimes they could talk a little bit above our heads. So it's nice to have somebody that can kind of break it down for us in a way that we can understand, and really present the research in a meaningful way that hopefully people could take back and either implement in their department, or make changes, and things like that.
And I mean, they're doing cutting edge stuff. John is working hands in hand with Dr. Jeff Burgess from University of Arizona. Um, and they're part of the firefighter cohort cancer study as well. So I think it'd be pretty cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
really.
I think, yeah, definitely, we're going to learn what's the latest and greatest, right? I mean, they're out there on that cutting edge, so
Yeah,
they should have.
they're actually doing the best practices. They're not just talking it; they're actually doing it.
Right, right. Then the last thing for the day on Wednesday, and this one, I think, I think both you and me are kind of excited about this one. It's a peer support roundtable. So um, we have a lot of peer support coordinators that are at the conference. So that's going to be Ben Vernon. He's going to come up on this. Jeff Orange as well. So is Heath Good. Brandon Dryman from
we're,
Indianapolis.
we're making the most of. You're already here. We're gonna
Right.
plug you in here as well.
Um,
Two for one special. Hit the Mission Impossible theme.
that's right. David Gerard from Columbus. You'll be on the panel, right? And it'll all be hosted by James Gearing, our friend from Behind the Shield, right?
And that's right. That's right. And I think the idea behind that is just really going over the good and the bad of being in that position and taking care of your members. Also, taking care of yourself. I think if you actually talk to every one of those individuals, they would tell you, like, they've circled the drain too,
Right.
dealing with somebody. So how do they combat that? And James is such a powerful speaker, host, just a good dude, and he can really just get to the thick of things. And I'm so happy to just really have everybody here. Like,
Hmm.
the truth is, this is just an opportunity for Nick and I to bring in some really cool people, some friends, and hang out. you
Right.
know,
Yes.
I can't go everywhere, but they can come to me.
Exactly. Well, I
But
think
go
this,
ahead.
the peer support roundtable, I think, is going to be something unique. Obviously, I don't think it's really ever been done at any conference, really. And if you're a peer supporter or a peer support coordinator, I feel like this is like a must see type of uh, you know um, must see event, right? So this is definitely something that I feel like peer supporters, peer support coordinators are going to be able to really grasp things and take that back to their department. I mean, you have some really heavy hitter departments on there, big departments that have lots of members. So if, those that don't necessarily have those numbers, are kind of learning from the best, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, these are all, truth be told, um, these are all my, call friend, my lifelines. Just today, I called Dave Gerald from Columbus, asking for help just today. You know,
Mhm.
so so these guys are all just amazing resources, and I really do think that it'll be one of those things where we're not going to have to worry about questions. Um, like, we're going to slot pretty easy.
Right.
But you made it sound like that's the last thing we're doing that day,
Well,
and
no.
that is not
So
true.
that's the end of the educational portion, if you will. So like you said, we like to have fun. So the first thing that we're doing, we're going to do a movie that night after the conference,
I want
and
to
it's
I
going
want
to
to call this fun though. I want to
well,
call
true,
this part isn't
edutainment,
fun.
edutainment, right? Um,
Yeah.
so we're doing a movie, Only the Brave, the Hollywood blockbuster movie with um, who
Josh
is
Brolin.
Josh Brolin. Yes,
Yeah.
and really, this is obviously um, the story of the Granite Mountain Hotshots and the 19 firefighters that died. So it's going to be interesting. We'll be doing that screening, and then afterwards we'll have Q&A with Brendan himself, kind of talking about what happened then, and it kind of leads up to obviously his presentation the next day.
Yeah, so it's really, for those that haven't seen it, great movie, but I mean, you know what the ending is. Not a great ending for 19 of them and their families. But still really, really impactful. And this being the 10-year anniversary, I mean, we're just a couple weeks away, June 30th, from the 10-year anniversary. So the idea when I talked to Brendan about it, it was, let's show the movie, let's do Q&A, and then the next morning when he starts, I'm sorry, I'm kind of skipping ahead, on that Thursday morning, October 26th, the idea is he's going to just start from July 1st,
Right.
and so he's left with this, I mean, survivor's guilt, you know, 19 of these guys died and I'm still here. Why me? And he's going to go on from his path now, from there, July 1st, 2013 to, present day, to where he actually has his own, recovery center, mental health place. So,
Right.
um, but it was a lot of issues, a lot of trouble, getting to that point. So that's kind of going to be what starts that day off officially on Thursday. But before we even go in, I do want to talk about the morning thing, because this is what we
Mhm.
have going on is a little bit different. Um, Some conferences have this, some don't. But let's touch on the pre-conference items going on.
Yeah. So this year,
The whole idea is to have options, right?
yeah.
We
Well,
have options.
previously in previous years, we've always offered morning yoga as a as something for our students to all the attendees to be able to do before the conference starts. So this year we wanted to kind of mix it up, give little bit more options. So not only do we have morning yoga, we will have warrior meditation for those that are alumni of Save a Warrior, like yourself. Um, and then we will also have kind of like a prayer service or church service with one of the local chaplains. So there will be that. And then we'll also have Friends of Bill W meeting for those that need that as well. So a lot of different options. And that's starting both mornings. Be
We don't
open,
know what time yet, but it'll be before the actual event starts.
right? And so it'll be open to anybody who wants to attend, and obviously that's part of the conference, right?
Yep. All right. So we talked about Brendan.
Yep.
Go ahead and talk about who's next after that.
So next this is another one of those interesting ones I think is definitely unique. So we're going to do a medical marijuana and CBD panel. So this is going to have our friend Stephanie White from Fairfax County, John Voight, who is the owner of Rescue One CBD, and Sean O'Leary, who is trustee with the Pittsburgh local IAFF. Obviously, this is kind of a emerging topic with the states out there, obviously legalizing medical marijuana to treat, PTSD and other conditions. Same thing with the CBD. It just seems to be quite the emerging topic. I've been on several um, meetings, here locally in the state, where the chiefs are, kind of leery and wondering how they navigate this path. Because even like the interesting thing, I think, and you probably know this as
Thanks a
well,
lot, Nancy Reagan.
CBD, even with CBD, you could still test positive for THC when using a CBD product. So,
Some of them.
how do you navigate that? I think what's really neat in this, this panel, obviously Pittsburgh has it in their contract, medical marijuana use, and that's kind of unique to the country as well.
Yep. Yeah, I really think that you're right. This is a top is gaining more and more steam, and these guys and gal really know their stuff. And they're not just the I don't know, the typical pothead that you would think of. I mean, these guys have done their homework. They know their studies, and they really make a case for why this is a better option than, here's a bunch of opiates, here's a bunch of
Right.
antidepressants, here's, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's very topical. I think it's, obviously there's a lot of studies going on out there. I think I shared an article with you recently about microdosing of mushrooms and things like that. And there's studies starting even in the United States on that for PTSD treatments. And then obviously you have all these ketamine clinics now popping up. I think it's a very interesting topic that not a lot of people are thinking about, or it's starting to become the topic to talk about. So should be really really interesting to have them at the conference.
Yeah.
So the next speaker we've got is Aaron Zamzo from Fire Rescue Fitness. Obviously he'll be talking about kind of the fitness piece of a wellness program in a fire department, and how you can integrate that and even do it, on your own and things like that as well.
Yeah. Now he's out of Wisconsin. He knows his stuff, that's for sure. So I'm really excited to see kind of him share his message with all of our attendees there.
Well, like, last year we had uh,
Dan Kerrigan.
Dan Kerrigan,
Yeah.
and just it'll be interesting to kind of not necessarily compare notes, but kind of see the differences between the two programs. I think obviously they're both kind of um, you know putting out a good message and good things out there. So just seeing what's different, seeing what his suggestions are. Obviously it's going to be different and intriguing to me at least.
Yep.
So. Then we've got Dr. Minda O's from Fully Involved Life. She's author, wife of a firefighter, correct?
Correct.
And
Clinician.
clinician. Yeah. So she's going to be touching on retirement in the fire service. So
Yeah.
something
So
that
she's
we don't
written
want us to talk about a
two
lot.
books. Fully Involved, which is it's more kind of first responder marriage relationship book, and then I forget what it's called. But her most recent book is regarding retirement, and not just it's not like a David Ramsey kind of financial. It's really more or less than, hey, you've been doing this for 25, 30 years. Now all of a sudden you're not going to do this anymore. What's your purpose going to be? How are you going to deal with things? A lot of times these nightmares, everything that you've been just shoving down for decades now is going to start showing up. And how are you going to, work your way through this? So it's a topic that I think is grossly just not talked about. Like
Oh yeah.
it's ignored. It's just blown off. And so we leave the job, and it's kind of you're on your own now. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's so unique about it, right? Is retirement's not. Everybody thinks about retirement, right? Everybody wants to get there eventually, but then a lot of people, who get there, it's they feel like it's not as cracked up as it used to be, right? It's um, almost like being like
Now all of a sudden they're not busy. Like they have time, and when they have time, now all of a sudden they're thinking about things that they have hidden for years.
right,
Like
right.
you can't hide anymore from that. So I think I really enjoyed her book. I've had her on this show as well. She's back in the archives. I don't know which number, but I think she's gonna be great.
Absolutely. And then last but not least, James Gearing will be doing a live podcast.
Another 2-for-1.
That's right, from the conference. So that should be interesting to be, live in studio with James, but having I don't think we've fleshed out exactly who his guest is going to be just yet, but I think it's going to be obviously, pretty interesting um, conversation. So,
Absolutely.
and then later in that evening, we will be screening another movie. This one is Burned, Protecting the Protectors. Just had its premiere, right?
Right.
Over the weekend in Massachusetts,
Worcester.
Worcester, and so we'll show the movie, and then we'll be fortunate enough to have a panel Q&A for that. We'll have the director of the film, Elijah Yetter Bowman. Our good friend Rob Ballot will be up. Dr. Graham Peasley from the University of Notre Dame. The lady who kicked this off, really, Diane Cotter will be there. And then our friend Jason Burns from Fall River will be there as well. So these are all people that are in the movie, right?
These are all people in the movie, and they were all actually there in Worcester at the premiere, which was on Sunday night, and we're gonna bring him to exotic Beaver Creek, Ohio, to do it all again. So, this is obviously they know that we're pro PF. No, that sounds bad. Pro PFAS. We've been advocates regarding this chemical in our fire gear for a while. We've been pretty outspoken, really before a lot of the other places were. So I know they were all about having an opportunity to speak to um, our attendees and show them this movie and then answer any other questions regarding this stuff. I mean, you are talking about some big time players
Yeah.
when we're looking
Well,
at
and this
this in
is
this room.
this is an important, um, it's still an important topic. There's still a lot of work to be done. Obviously, the first step forward, they've come out with a new moisture barrier that is PFAS or fluorine free, if you will. So it's intriguing to see what's going to be next. But this is kind of the beginning of that, right? The beginning of the journey and how we got to where we are today.
Absolutely. It sure is.
Yeah, so that's gonna be great. And then Friday's a half day. Um, and we've got two great ladies from NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, from the Frontline Wellness team. They're going to be doing a firefighter and significant other workshop, 4-hour workshop. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of unique to what we're doing, right, Jim, is we're this year, well, you and I have kind of had the benefit of having our spouses at these conferences because, they gotta help us work it.
They work.
Part of a work release program for them, but we've kind of gained the benefit of having our wives at these conferences and kind of getting a better understanding of why the way we are, why we are the way we are, right? And
You said that a lot nicer than I would have.
well, but I think what's interesting, and I think and I'm hoping a lot of people are going to come this year. I hope a lot of people bring their spouses to come this year. I think that's a key to this event is not only is there even the other classes on Wednesday and Thursday, your spouse can sit in and still gain some insight and knowledge as well. But there's other activities. We have Exotic Beaver Creek does have different things around it that that they could do. But having your spouse there when for this workshop, I think is going to be paramount, and just being able to have that support and kind of talk about that, because I think it's there's more people out there talking about it, but it's still kind of one of those neglected things, relationships. And unfortunately, I know myself, and I'm sure you as well have had a lot of friends and coworkers that have had get divorced or have issues in their relationship and have rocky times, and some of that may be have been preventable from just because of what they're going through, if their spouse or significant other knew what was going on. So I think it's going to be a good workshop for those that really are open-minded about trying to figure out how to make a first responder relationship work, right?
Right. Well, and a couple things, if I may. Well, I may because it's my show. So
Yes, you can.
no. So check this out. So I absolutely believe there's value in having your spouses have an idea of why you tick and why this job makes you the way you do. Done that with my wife. I think it's made things so much easier, so much better for us. On top of that, like our spouses really know us. They see us when we're off. They know when we're isolating. They know when we're drinking a bunch. They know when we're quick to anger. Like we could put on a show when we're firehouse. We could pretend. We could fool everybody. But
Right.
it's when we come home, not always the case. It's usually the opposite. Like, no, that's when you see the real you. And having your spouses, having them educated and knowing the signs and symptoms of when somebody's having issues, and actually getting them involved to where they can help that firefighter out. That's kind of where we want to go with this.
Oh yeah.
You know, we want that person that's home to kind of be the advocate and step in when things aren't going well, and kind of take care of it early on before it gets worse.
Right.
So the
Well, early prevention is the key, right? Or early detection is the key. So
yeah, and that's what we're trying to do with this. So um I think Nick and I are both believers in having the spouses aware of the stuff, and we just want to bring it, um for everybody else. And I can't remember last year at our show, can't remember who it was, but I do remember saying, like, um just how, like, basically asking the question to the audience, like,
mhm.
wouldn't this how cool would this have been if your spouses were here and they could
Oh,
have learned all this stuff too? And I can't remember for the life of me who that was after, but I know it was impactful, it was significant, and everybody was like, "Yeah, that would have been good to just gain that understanding." So we're trying to kind of replicate that feeling this year.
yeah. Well, I mean, we've both been to several different conferences with our wives and retreats and things like that, and obviously we've reaped the benefits of having our spouses at our own conference, and yeah, we want to extend that invitation to everybody that comes. I think it's important that you know they come and listen to some of the messages, and even if it's you know involving some other things. There are, you know, while it's not 100% the beach or anything like that, there are some fun things to do around where we're at. So you can bring the kids and the wife and have a good time doing some of those other things, while your spouse is in class. So
So why don't you touch on where more information on this conference can be found?
yeah, so if anybody wants to come, they can visit our website, which you can either go to brothershelpingbrothers.org. There's a link there right on the homepage, or you can go to events.brothershelpingbrothers.org, and you can click on it from there. From there, you'll see who's presenting. We have an agenda and everything up. Um, you know, Previews of the movies that we'll be talking about, that we're having. And there's even some testimonial information from previous students and vendors. If you're kind of on the fence about wanting to come, and from there you can reserve your hotel and get your tickets and things like that. So, like I said before, it's a fairly reasonable conference to come to right now. 2-day passes are $50, 3-day passes are $75, single day passes are $30, and that price will be good till August 31st. And then September 1st, prices do go up. So this is our early bird pricing. It's a great conference to um, come to, and it's very reasonably priced for sure.
Yeah, so amazing speakers, national speakers coming in to Ohio, and it's done just again with your pocketbooks in mind, where you can open up that wallet and feel value, like you're
Well,
going to get your money's worth.
and the nice part is, we take care of everybody, right? So we normally have a breakfast, some type of breakfast items. And then we normally have, lunch is provided as well. We have CEU, or well, certificates of attendance for everybody who needs those, and a lot of value for the little amount of money that is involved comparably.
Yeah, but I challenge to find a conference that has as much value as this conference,
Oh yeah.
where you have this quality speakers, and the price for admission and the hotel and everything. I dare anybody to find something more reasonable that's comparative, because I don't think it exists.
Yeah, it's tough to beat. I know. Well, I got a little bit of a testimonial actually today from um, Robert Avec from um,
Oh, the psychologist.
yes, and
Yes,
he posted it on LinkedIn today. He's like, this is the best conference that you might not know about, right?
that's right. That's true. That's
Well,
true.
we don't put a lot of money into advertising. We don't put a lot of money into pushing things out there as much as we probably could. But it's kind of like a grassroots effort. And but where you see the money at is when you come to the show. With the caliber of speakers that we have, the amount, the value that you get for the amount of money that you put down is definitely
How,
well worth the attendance.
how much money do you get paid for doing this?
So I get paid a whole whopping $0.
Yeah, me too.
But it's a passion project, right? I mean, I feel like this is something that is helpful for our fellow firefighters, and is we might not get necessarily paid monetarily, but I feel like we've gotten paid tenfold
Oh
in
yeah.
the impact that we've received from hearing about other people's success stories.
Yeah, from attending. Like I remember, I mean, just last year, I think after our first session, like there were people actually calling and getting help, and actually, um, for whatever reason, they had been sitting and not doing anything about it, and all of a sudden they just felt motivated to finally make change. So it was like first session, I remember going, you know, this is already worth it. Anything else is just bonus.
Right.
Like I already felt like all time, all of our effort, um, it was worth it. Very first session.
Well, and then just having last year having Jake Clark from Save a Warrior, we were able to get somebody in his class that needed to be in his class. That was huge, huge.
Yeah.
That definitely is the reward for all the hard work.
And it used to be each year I'd be like, this is my last one. This is my last one. And I've kind of stopped doing that because I the impact is just, I mean, there's nothing like it.
No, no.
So,
Well, and I mean, that's the stuff we know about, right? I mean,
oh
I'm
yeah.
sure there's a lot more that we might not know about that is helping people and putting things in a positive direction. So it's definitely it's a labor of love, right?
It
We
just, this whole thing is, to me, is just righteous. Like there's a lot of things out there, and they just, they've got something tied to it that just makes it kind of not on the up and up. You've been able to kind of avoid all that stuff and just do something that is pure.
I think the interesting thing is we kind of have like our own little following of people that believe in what we're doing and believe in us, right? Like people
And
that
and I don't think and I'm sorry I stepped on you. I do that all the time. I don't think people understand, like there was, I always think back a couple years ago in which, when we do the PFAS stuff and everything we do for this conference, like we have to, it's a like we need to have the attendees in order to have the vendors, and we need the attendees also to have the speakers, and it just all kind of works itself out, right? Like we're
yeah.
dependent on the vendors, the speakers, and the attendees. Well, we're told, so we wait, like there's a big wait as far as the sponsors go, because they end up paying for the vast majority of the stuff, and that's what keeps the prices low for the attendees. Well, we get told, if you do this PFAS stuff, we're not going to sponsor it. And I think it caused us pause for a second,
Right.
because we know we need that money, but at the same time, it was absolutely the immoral, unethical thing to do. And we basically said, well, screw you. And we went ahead and did the PFAS stuff,
Right.
and our conscience was clear, and we know we did the right thing.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. I
We're
felt like,
we're not a corporate thing. It's just, it's you and me.
yep.
And we do what we think is the best thing to do
Well,
within our moral.
we lost 2 sponsors, that when we decided to go that route, and they haven't been back since, but that's okay. There's other people out there that believe in what we're doing, believe in the message, and want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, right?
Amen, brother. Amen. So, I think that's probably it right now. I think we covered it.
Yeah.
You can, all you listeners and viewers out there, you can see us live in person, this October,
Yes.
and definitely have a good time doing it, and learn some stuff, and definitely walk away better than you came.
Absolutely.
So with that, I'm gonna get you out of here. It's almost my bedtime too, but he's Nick Magoteaux, Brothers Helping Brothers.
Yep.
I'm Jim Burneka, and we'll see you next time.